Tanzania, once the eastern corner of the country, is now a population of cutting forests, mostly separate. Yes, day by day, fuels pass and yes, the Finnish forest park serves different areas of Tanzania, both in need of forest support to endure and be sustained. FPS implements two NEDA-funded forestry projects, the Forestry Development Project and the East Usambara Catchment Project.
Now there is another village which is northern.
The islands of Zanzibar, Unguja and Pemba improve forest management, village forestry and conservation of the few remaining natural forests. On the slopes of the East Usambara Mountains, the catchment forests, part of the last rainforests in Tanzania, need to be conserved. But this has to be done in a way that does not make everyday life troublesome for the local people. On Zanzibar, the Finnish Forest and Park Service is in for its fourth year with a totally new concept. The draft for the third phase of the project is done with a participatory approach. In other words, the Zanzibarians themselves have prepared and written the document.
We started this from January 1992 by having or getting a short training on how to work on this project design as a whole. And we got a 2-week training.
Target groups, huh?
After the initial planning meetings, the design team went out to 24 villages to conduct interviews and gather information for the draft.
Ndio tungaliwachanga hatujajua nini maana masoko na nini ndio tunakuja tunaona wateja tu.
We had separate meetings for the men and separate meetings for women, because during our trial meetings we found that if you combine men and women in the same meeting, same room, women do not talk actively.
Naonaje swala hilo kwamba inaweza upande gani wa idara misitu ufanye?
It was quite a good range of questions, depending on, starting from what they have been doing concerning forestry and what are they thinking about the future, and some social questions relating to their lives and in relation to forest uses. People have been saying out their mind. They have been also criticizing us on how are we doing the activities in involving them. They have suggested ways of cooperating with them and sort of help we could give, and maybe what we should do in the future.
Then the report was written, with emphasis on 4 major components: village forestry, conservation, plantations, and management support. The goal for the third phase of the project, running from mid-1993 to mid-1997, is to reduce rural poverty and create a base for sustainable development.
I think sometimes people as consultants might be in a hurry when they come here, so they will not have enough time to start to think and to get all the information that they would require. So they would otherwise just make it a shortcut to move and get in as much data they can in that short period. So I think probably it's a better way to get people who knows it, and because people who does the job or prepare the document are the same people who are going to implement it.
Do you think it's a way of working in the future?
I think that this could be used everywhere in the world, planning the projects.
You're proud of that?
Yes, I am.
The objectives of village forestry are to teach rural people to plant, harvest and sell trees.
Yeah, it is a good way for women to teach in this way, because the people, they can see a picture, and then when you tell them, so they agree with you and they more understand.
Traditional plantation forestry and harvesting are well established due to the training provided by the project. Moreover, village forestry is starting to give some results. Mr. Musa has had a nursery for 3 years. Now he sells and makes some profit, which he's going to invest.
Kwa hivi sasa nanunulia vyakula, lakini baadaye kama itakuwa zaidi nataka kununulia mpira ili usaidie kwa kutilia maji hapo.
These women in the village of Pwani Muchangani are quarreling with the buyer to get a better price for the Kasuarina poles. They've opened a bank account, built a guest house on the beach, and furthermore,
kutafuta kitu tukapika na watoto wetu kula chakula pia zinasaidia.
In the field of conservation, the project objectives are mainly to protect biologically and culturally sensitive areas, such as these mangrove belts and all their small inhabitants on Pemba Island.
We can close the area for a certain period of time, and then that area, the closed area, will not be allowed for any person to cut mangroves. And we can open the area so that people can go and cut there on a sustainable basis.
An inventory of the mangrove forests and the coral rag areas was carried out in 1992, and it showed that the coral bush has been disappearing by about 500 hectares a year. The project will therefore try to promote local management of the coral rag areas and mangrove forests as well. With its rare and endemic species, such as this wild banana, the Ngezi forest is another invaluable area on Pemba. But at the edge of the forest, these white beaches are an irresistible temptation for a rather new but big threat, foreign hotel investors.
As I was saying earlier, this is the only true forest remaining on this island. So once you taking a chunk by chunk of this forest, it's gone. And once you start giving one investor, there is no, argument that you can stop other investors from coming in. So many investors will be coming in because the area is surrounded by a lot of white sandy beaches, which is an outlet of a good sea for swimming and sport fishing. Then the whole forest is going to be just like that.
This man, a local fundi, a carpenter, depends upon the surrounding forests in East Osambara to make a living for himself and his family. The problem is that he and his companion are using the mwole tree, very hard and very good indeed for sofas and other pieces of furniture, but also on the verge of extinction. It's endemic, and despite measures to protect it, illegal trading has reduced the number of trees rapidly from 20,000 to some 4,000. The Mwale case is extreme, but here the FPS advisors have got a good example of just how complex are the problems they face when trying to implement the project components: nature conservation, catchment forestry, plantation forestry, and institutional support. The question is how to maintain the ecological processes of the area, which includes the rains that are trapped by the catchment forest and transported as drinking water in many a river to tens of thousands of people, without deteriorating the quality of life for local villagers. And how to preserve the genetic resources of the forest without creating hardships for the people residing in it, many of whom have been living in and off the forest for generations.
Kwa upande wa upasuaji, mzee wangu alikuwa anapasua. Babu yangu kwa kweli, babu mzaa baba, sikuwahi kumuona, lakini wa kike niliwahi kumuona.
From the advisor's point of view, the situation looks like this. The red areas on the computer-drawn satellite map shows how much the forest has been shrinking in the past 6 years. On the mountains, the problem often looks like this. Illegal encroachments conquer the forest as hungry farmers slash and burn the trees for more farming land. But from the locals' point of view, the problem can be this.
Tuliomba tupate waturuhusu tuchukue kuni kwa sababu inatusaidia matumizi ya kupikia.
And what did the authority answer?
Eti mmejibiwa nini baada ya ombi lenu hili?
Bado majibu hatujapata.
They didn't get any answer from the authority.
Or the problem can look like this.
Ni vizuri kuhifadhi msitu kwa muda, baadaye tunapata nafasi tunatumia vile vile. Maana tunalinda na kutumia kidogo kidogo. Si mzuri kuachia kabisa, itakuwa mbaya, italeta athari. Lazima tutumie kwa muda, alafu muda tunazuia.
Or even like this.
Unatibu, mtu anapata nafuu. Ndio maana wamenichagua nije kama nisingekuwa na atibu, wasingeniita. Watu ni wangapi jiji niwe.
The solution to some of these problems might look like this.
As you may see around, this is mainly a teak plantation, and contribution which we are making to the east of Sambara, especially to the villagers who are around the forest, is to reduce the impact of those villagers to go to the natural forest and collect some forest produce. We have been allowing the villagers to go in the forest, in the plantation, and collect some fuel wood free, instead of those villagers going to the natural forest and do the same thing.
But there are more problems. The shambas, small agricultural plots, are increasing in Amani, the biggest remaining natural forest area in East Usambara. There is no way around it. More and more people need more and more food. With endemic species like this well-known flower, the St. Paulia, and trees like these greenway dendrons, the conservationists have decided that Amani is so valuable that it has to be turned into a nature reserve. Small project groups like this have made a survey in the villages in order to find out what the local people in general think of conservation.
Others say they have no answer. So that me, I don't know. But most of them say that we think the government should conserve the forest as it is. The government should be only as state as it is now. because when we villagers, we own those forests, something might happen. Maybe we are going to exploit because it is difficult to control. Others say that few, very few. We think those forests should be under our power, and it will be easy for us to control the illegalities in the forest. But most of them say that it is better for the government to conserve as now how it is.
But as the clouds slowly creep up the slopes of Amani, just as they have done for millions of years, to end up trapped by the forest, the conservationists are racing with time. Amani has been retreating steadily since the early 1970s.
There are a lot of species which are of unique characteristics, and they are mainly confined into this area. We are lacking enough knowledge of the tropical forests, and where our sons, daughters, grandsons, granddaughters, where are they going to benefit such things?
One way to protect the forest is to guard it. Another is to mark the borders of the reserves with a line of trees. But still it happens.
Yeah, this is because our neighbor village, which is Ubiri, for the time being, they have no existing natural trees. And most of the people do depend on these natural trees for their daily uses. For example, this one is a greenway dendron surveillance, which is mostly used for henros, which is very suitable for henros. So because they don't have this type of species no longer in their own land, they tried to enter in the forest reserve so that they can cut and have them for their own use.
When the extension officers catch a perpetrator, they turn him over to the police. But there's another way as well.
Yeah, we are doing that to be as advisors. But at the same time, you know, if we are trying to do this, we should have to seek alternatives to these people. Because you can't only talk without giving them alternatives. Otherwise, it's a chase and run tactics, you see. Yeah.
This is the mark of illegal timber, and there are quite a few of them at the forest station. This is still another challenge the project must face.
What will happen around forest reserves? There are not so many problems in the forest reserves at the moment anymore, but if trees are not planted and nurseries established on the public land around forest reserves, the people will definitely, they will enter into the forest to get their forest products.
It's their future lives we're talking about, their future lives in one of the poorest countries of the world. What kind of ecological circumstances will she be living in after 20 years if the funding were to end right now? Would it be a disaster?
Not any catastrophe, no, but for instance, as far as village forest is concerned, the very promising and fast start will stop and then wither away gradually.
Yeah, well, of course, funds are important because it is a resource to make it possible to work here. But still, I would not say that the money itself is the most important thing. I think that the better resources and better knowledge and better conditions to work, that is the most important thing.
No, Eden is not yet restored, and perhaps nobody has a right to demand that it should be. But everybody does have the right to live a decent life under decent conditions. The mission continues.